Hello and welcome. I'm Lewis Clayton. We're down at Richworth Linear Fisheries, probably the most well-known day ticket fishery in the country. We're well into November now. We're down here doing a lot of fishing and a spot of filming. We've got some well-known faces on the bank that you will know and some lads that you might not know so well. So let's go and catch up with them and see if they've managed to bank a fish. Hello, right, we've caught up with Leon Bartropp, who I'm sure needs no introduction whatsoever, and George Benos, who I'm sure needs no introduction whatsoever, especially in the south. From Essex and caught pretty much every big fish worth catching. Now, we're down on Hardwick, as you know. George and Leon got down here yesterday, they had a look round, they chose the swims and they had the lake to themselves. So what we want to discuss with them is what they did when they got down here, how they went about choosing the swims and just general tactics. I'll have to apologise for the road. Anyone who knows the layout of Linear Fisheries knows we've got a busy main road in between Hardwick and Manor here. So if the noise gets a little bit loud, I apologise. So go on lads, what did you do when you got down?
Well, I was first. I got down before George. I haven't fished this lake for many years. And what I do with any lake I haven't been to for quite a long time, I'm not in touch with it and fishing it regularly. I have a good look round, see if there's any other anglers there, talk to them, see if they've seen fish or caught any, speak to the bailiff like Roy at Linear, usually puts you on a good where the fish have been coming.
Yeah, he's helpful,
very best bailiff in the world, Roy. I spoke to a couple of guys who fished it regular and they said if you don't see anything, more than likely they'll be in the Smith side of the lake. So I had a good look round there. Again, didn't see anything, but plotted up about 3 or 4 swims in line with the cut through that's there. Put 3 little 10mm baits out, one on each rod, a couple of spods full, nothing really, because I'm just trying to find out if the fish are there or whatever, with a view to like move today. Much the same as George, I think,
pretty much really, yeah. I mean, obviously I got here a little bit later than Leon. You know, it was a little bit of a social anyway. Obviously I see where he's gone and stuff like that. You know, he knows what he's doing. Went quite close to him. Personally myself, I fished a little bit different than him. I went a little bit further down. I just fished little stick bags, you know, bit of ground bait, stuff like that. Pinged them out, felt for drops, and what I did is just put some little spawn loads out of bits of hemp, pellet, that sort of thing, just to mimic the PVA bags really. Maybe spread 20-30 of them around the whole of the swim, so get the fish sort of used to picking up little particles, you know, like little bags, stuff like that.
That's what I
with a view to moving.
I was fishing more spots, really. I sort of found the spots, and George was just casting around any likely certain areas, so we both trying to
doing them every couple of hours.
I mean, am I right in saying, obviously, you know, you take your fishing very serious, you fish your syndicate waters. At times, if you know, not saying you've not got your head on it today, but it's a social session, which a lot of you guys coming down here will come with a friend or a few friends, and you'll want to fish quite close together, which fortunately there's a lot of swims and a lot of bank space on these linear waters where that's feasible. Now if you're fishing a syndicate and you both turn up, you see fish, you've got that one track mind, you might find yourselves at opposite end of the lake doing your own thing because you want to catch, because you're there on your main water. This time of year, we're getting into winter, you've come for a social, you want to be quite close together, you know, and have a good time. We've got a lot of hours of darkness. Is that fair?
We're only here for like a couple of days because George's got to go back to work, so have I, you know. And what we did was, this morning, we reeled in, went for a good look round, and as soon as we got round to this side, we could just see it's so much warmer.
Felt warmer as well.
Felt right, you know. You get that sixth sense, like, you know. And then we're looking at, we've got to see one in a minute, and then they started showing out there.
Was this wind the same
Exactly
yesterday
the same.
as it is
So,
today?
it was sort of blowing into our
it's about the
faces,
same.
wasn't it, yesterday? But it wasn't really that cold, was it? I mean,
No, it wasn't
dropped
cold.
a little bit of a night time, but it wasn't
just
that
looked
cold. It looked carpy, simple as that.
looked
which
where
is
we
why
was.
went in there, wasn't it?
Something should happen, you know.
yeah,
We see one, and then we see one this morning through the
Surely
gap.
that C1 first this morning,
Oh,
wasn't
and I
it?
thought
I
we're
mean,
in the wrong
C1
place.
through the gap, and sort of we walked round here, see quite a few shows, and we had to move. I mean, if that would have been our syndicate water, you would have probably got up and walked down on your own before I even sort of woken up.
And then told you that you'd not seen anything.
Yeah, moved round.
I would have texted from the other side of the lake. Haven't seen nothing. Seen nothing.
So,
What you see?
Yeah,
Nothing.
But you know, it's a social fish. This.
Yeah.
Going to share a bit of information. It's nothing
Yeah,
too serious.
Nice little social.
Yeah, it's
nice.
good. I mean,
so you've moved round here, you've obviously seen fish, you don't know the water that well, but you're on fish, so you don't want to get your marker rod out, spook them. You've only got one night's fishing left.
That's it to the morning.
So what tactics have you employed?
Well, I've just banged out 3 single hook baits out to the rough zone where they was, and I'm gonna redo them in a little while. I've got tiny little pop ones on the moment. I'm gonna put hinge stiff rigs out there. There's a little bit of chod on the bottom, so I want that to pop up a little bit higher up. You know, fresher bait out there as well, a bit more attraction. And as soon as it gets dark, because of the ducks and seagulls and that, I'm probably gonna put 30 or 40 baits pinged out with a fraying stick in the general area, like the size of a tennis court. You know, just to get a bit of smell, a bit of interest, and hopefully one of them single pop-ups will get picked up, you know.
yeah. Me personally, pretty much the same. I mean, I'm quite happy with my rods. I don't think I've been redoing mine are right in the zone where we've seen the fish showing. I've got 2 pop-ups on, and then I've got slip bottom bait, a couple of 10 mils. Again, little stick bags, just a little bit of attraction in there. I've got good drops on mine, and I'm pretty much happy.
That was my next question. I mean, obviously, as we've just said, they've not had a marker rod out, they don't know the venue that well, so I'm assuming you've got a rough idea of the depth of the water with the drop, how long the lead's up to it, the depth. What kind of depth do you think you're fishing in?
Me personally, I would say I'm probably, my shallowest rod probably around about 10 foot. It actually felt quite good
I'm
there.
a little bit deep, about 15
I'd say my deepest rod was
bit more
probably
chilly,
around about 15. But again, fairly decent drops, quite happy they're fishing.
See, it's interesting because you're fishing out into the middle area of the lake, and we've got Jamie Clossick over on the other side. Jamie's had a little bit of a lead around, again like these guys, he's not had a marker rod out, but he thinks, he's not sure, that he might have felt a few fish on the way down with his lead, so he's put 2 out on zigs. Now you're fishing similar kind of area in the middle part of the lake, so it should be interesting to see what happens, you know.
Where they're sort of feeding in the water column, you know. I mean, I suspect that when it gets dark, they might drop down a little bit, you know. You might pick up that bonus fish. I think if Jamie's fishing zigs, he's got a really good chance out there. You know, if you can present the zig out there properly.
Especially during the day, you know, if the sun
Especially
comes
during the
out
day.
like it has been today, he has got a good chance. But the beauty of this session is if Jamie does catch, he's not going to hide that away from everyone, is he? I mean,
No.
We'll know, and we'll probably adapt our own style to join
that's where
in, you know?
if one of you guys catches using your techniques, we'll all run round, rob all the bait, rob all the bits of tackle, and do exactly what they're doing because we all want to catch.
That's what it's about. Fishing like this is about that sort of thing. I mean, we're all big fish anglers at the end of the day, but there's a time for being a sort of a serious big fish angler. And
linear's perfect if you want to come with your mate or 2 or 3 if you have so.
Top and bottom of it is we go fishing to enjoy ourselves. It's not an endurance test. We're here to enjoy being on the bank and everything that comes with it. So, you know, one other thing I did want to ask you guys, Leon, you just mentioned there with regards to your work commitments. A lot of people watching this may be under the illusion that, especially yourself, Leon, someone who's very well known within carp fishing, does a lot of fishing, you know, a lot of these guys might think you're a full-time angler who all you do is fish, and possibly, you know, they might have that perception of you, George and Jamie as well. And I think it's fair to say that the majority of the guys, they've got family commitments, like you guys watching this, they've got jobs that they've got to work around. You don't just get 5 days a week to go fishing with 18 ton of bait.
I don't think I'd enjoy it, to be honest. No. I like the way. I mean, I've been sponsored or been with different companies for the last like 20 years, you know, and I've always got a buzz for fishing. Always got a buzz to go catch. So I've got a balance, you know, work, family, children, and play. You know, down the pub as well. Just coming fishing for a couple of nights a week or one night a week.
Everyone gets different things from life, and everyone gets a different level of enjoyment from the fishing. Some guys don't like to take it as serious as we do, but there's nothing wrong with that. It's just a simple case of it's part
circumstances and everything else.
It's a balance.
Just enjoy it. That's
it.
You know, I mean, I fish all the way through the winter because it's just what I wanted to do ever since I was a little kid. You know? But the rest of life, you've got to pay for things. You've got to have a life as well. Well, it's not just all about fishing.
When I was younger and in my teens, I'd always fish through the winter, and regardless, I would do those set days and those set nights. Now it's not a case of I don't fish through winter, it's that I'm busy with work and other commitments. I want to make sure I'm on the bank for the most amount of time at the most productive times. So spring and autumn I'll try and work it through winter and summer, get everything done, all the jobs that need doing. Come spring, you get the grass cut as soon as you possibly can because you want to get out.
Not only that, definitely. But not only that, I think to be successful at angling and to enjoy it, you've got to have your life sorted in the background. I mean, okay, you know, you can spend 5 days a week on the bank, whatever. If you're not financially sound to do that, etc., then
it puts pressure on other aspects of your life as well.
So, I mean, me personally, I've got a full-time job. I've got children. I've got a missus. Bills like everyone else. It'd be nice to, you know, fish loads of time, but true fact of the matter is I don't really get loads and loads of time. I mean, I'll get my sort of 2-3 nights a week.
But like Leon said, when you do get that chance to get out, you enjoy it, and that's
and
what
you're more on the ball as well. You're more willing to go, right, I'm going to move, like we have done. It's like, well, we're going to move, even though we're on a social with mates and friends and that, it's like, you want to move. It's not, right, I'm camping, that's it, got the rods out. I'm bored of fishing because I can do it every day of the week.
Like you're down through the boat.
Like, I want to catch one, got a buzz for moving the other side of the lake and catch one, you know.
Right, so thank you for that, George and Leon. As we've said, they've moved over this side of the lake, so we'll see what unfolds over the coming hours. Thank you very much for your time.
No problem.
Thank you very much.
Hi, we're here with Bev Clifford. For those of you that don't know her, Bev is the owner and runs Carp Talk Magazine and the daughter of well-known carper Kevin Clifford. Now, Bev's been involved in the industry for years, but only recently she started fishing herself. Now, I'm sure most of you are aware, as we see on Facebook and in the magazines, there's more and more ladies coming into the sport. So we just want to have a chat with Bev and find out her views on it, what she enjoys from it, why she goes. So over to you, Miss Clifford.
Well, got into it properly maybe 2-3 years ago. Obviously I've always been around it and it's always been an interest. I've sort of learnt it backwards. I sort of knew everything but couldn't actually put it into practice. I gave up partying really, decided I'd do something more productive with my time, and fishing seemed the obvious thing. It's great being outdoors obviously. The sort of the countryside aspect of it is brilliant. There's a certain amount of sort of active level towards it, but I've met a lot of great people through the industry and it's enjoyable spending time with them as well.
Do you find that it's a nice contrast between your office work and then you can, not that you can switch your mobile phone off because you're always in demand of course, but you get that break, that relaxation.
The
enjoyment aspect.
Yeah, there's nothing more relaxing than being near water. I was brought up with ponds at home, so I'm used to them. I'm not sort of scared of water or anything like that. And it was just sort of a natural thing to go to, that sort of outdoors. Not bothered by mud or anything like that. So.
Well, which is fortunate in the swim we're in today. We've had a lot of rain. Now, I think what we have to touch upon is security. It must be a massive factor for any ladies considering going fishing, where they're going. If you're not going with your partner, you're going on your own. Do you take any I suppose precautions would be the word, or whatever you can. You're sleeping out on the bank, you know.
Yeah, no, I mean I don't particularly go on my own just purely for the safety aspect of it. I'm lucky that I'm surrounded by a lot of knowledgeable anglers, the likes of Simon Crowe. I've led a lot of Simon. I've got a friend Jace that I've fished for a lot of catfish with and done a bit of carping with him, and sort of always bivvy up, not next to them, but in a swim nearby, just for that safety reason.
So what you're saying is you go with them. Would you go on your own, or would it be a no-no?
I've been thinking about getting a dog.
Right, okay.
Just for that
what kind of
safety
dog were we thinking of
Labrador.
getting? I think you need something a little bit more substantial, to be fair.
It's just that safety that somebody's there.
Somebody or something. Well, I think obviously, I mean, we're down at Linear, one of the most well-known day ticket fisheries in the country. It is safe, but nowhere is 100% safe. So, I mean, syndicate-wise, is it something that you've considered, or would you always stick to your more popular, busy day ticket venues where there's people on the bank?
No, not particularly. I think I know so many sort of people in the local area that they wouldn't have to particularly be a close friend, and I know that they're fishing that water, so that there is somebody there. As for rocking up to a water where there's not a soul in sight, I would be very conscious, especially with things like Facebook, where you happen to put on there that you go fishing there. It only takes one crazy person to...
Yeah, it only takes one person, doesn't it, out of however many. And I think my final question to Bev has got to be, not that we want to throw this argument in there, but as it goes, males against females, do you women have an edge over us men when it comes to fishing, do you think? We'll disagree, of course, but from your point of view...
We're slightly more organised.
I think, having seen you set up today, Bev, I would possibly disagree with that. However, we'll let that slide for now. So you think you're more organised? Anything else?
I just think as long as you put the time and the effort in, you're going to be as good as any bloke on the bank.
Yeah, I mean...
It's all about learning, it's all about trying to think new things.
Yeah, I mean, from my point of view, I definitely think that females can be as good at angling as men. I don't think sex plays a part in it whatsoever. It's down to the individual. But obviously, I think us guys do have an advantage in the fact that, like we've just discussed, the safety aspect, we can go where no women dare.
Yeah. Some men work there. I know men that are scared of the dark.
Yeah, to be fair, I know a few. So, anyway, thank you very much for your time and your insight into why you go fishing. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hiya, right, we've caught up with Jamie Clossick, who I'm sure you all know. Jamie got here yesterday, am I right in saying?
Yeah, yesterday morning.
Yeah. Never fished the water before, he's turned up, he's had a look about. Fortunately, not many people on, pretty quiet.
No, it's quiet when we got here, and seen a few fish sort of pop their heads out in general area, and sort of nice double looking peg on the point, looked pretty obvious area. Set up in there, using maggots for the first time. Never really. I've put them in spod mixes and stuff before, but I'm kind of using. I've had 3 bites now, and they're rubbing to the same rod, which is the only one that's got sort of a bit of pink fake corn, and then 3 fake maggots on the back of it as a hair. It's pretty buoyant. It's just using number 4 shot to right behind the bait to sink it. And it's gone 3 times the same rod.
Which I think we've both found quite interesting. He's caught the fish from 28 foot of water.
28 foot, yeah. I didn't really plumb it. Just the leg kept going down and down and down and down, but it was where the fish were showing. I was a bit worried they might be sort of just in a thermocline where it's gone cold. I've had the first frost last week. I was a bit worried that they were just sitting mid-water.
Yeah, because you thought when you were casting in that you were catching a few fish on the drop.
Yeah, I still feel that, not every time, and I'm sure it's fish. And there's been quite a few shown in the area. They keep going in little windows. There's one at 12 o'clock today, and for an hour. I had a bite at 12, then was getting loads of liners and all the rods. Quite a few fish was showing, then I had another bite at 1. And then it went quiet again for an hour or two. They've just started showing again now, but a bit further away. But it is going in waves, but they do seem to be grouped up. I'm sure it's fish I was bumping on the way down.
Yeah, I mean, for any of you that don't know Hardwick, it's extremely deep in parts with plateaus, bars, a lot of variations in depths. And I mean, I think you, like myself, started off with one in deeper water, a little bit shallower, just to try and gauge to see where the fish were going to come from. Obviously you've had one in deep water, like we've said. Mine came from about 16 foot. So they are definitely in the deeper water.
Yeah, it must be a bit warmer than everything else with these sort of frost wrapping. Again, I thought they'd be up in the lanes. So I had a bit of sun today, thinking and it's been quite warm in t-shirts earlier. I was thinking that they might sort of be coming up for it, and then I had a bite, like at 28 foot.
You never know, do you?
No.
It just shows that at the end of the day, it's better to have a rod in the water than leaning up against your bivvy. Even if you had a fish in the middle of the night, you've had a bream and you can't hit your spot, it's better to have it out there fishing somewhere than leaning up against the tree.
Could never be without a rod in the water. If I'm on a lake, it does me head in.
Fair enough. Obviously you have been around an awful long time, done an awful lot of fishing and caught an awful lot of big fish. We'd just like to ask Jamie how he started and how he's ended up where he's ended up. Obviously he's a prolific angler, he's a very well known angler, involved with a lot of companies, involved within the industry. So just talk us through it. Is that something that you looked for, or has it just happened, a natural progression over the years?
Yeah, it just happened. I mean, I remember I never wanted to sort of be a well known angler, but got to a stage where I was always catching wherever I went, and I fished a sort of slightly better water with a few bigger fish, and it really kind of jumped me up a few levels from just always pleasure fishing and just fishing for what's in front of me. Made me want to catch big fish. There was a few 30s in there, ended up catching a few of them, and had to up my gear. There was a lot of long range fishing, and just got a bit more precise about everything. Kind of learned about fishing spots, just being very particular about what you're doing, because it's a tricky lay. If you weren't on spots, you know, somebody else would go in the peg, or it used to be me. I was going in pegs, other people catching out. If I couldn't get a bite, and eventually you'd look around, you find one spot, you get a bite off, that becomes a banker spot, and you start looking for another one. You eventually end up with 3 rods on spots, and it happens to other people. They go in the peg after you've had 4 or 5 fish, they don't catch, you go back in, catch straight away. And literally it taught me fine-tuning stuff in greater detail, and gave me the urge to fish, you know, for bigger fish. And the following year I joined Elstow 2, which had 2 low 40s in at the time, which were, you know, kind of the 50s now really. There was only a few lakes with sort of scraper 40s in. It's about 12 years ago, I guess. And I ended up catching them both in my first season. It was very hard. It was the hardest lake I'd ever fished at the time. 17 carp in 35 acres or something. But I ended up catching both the big ones, and nobody had ever done it before, so it was big news. I got approached by a couple of magazines, and I had one of them good 12 months where I couldn't do anything wrong. I ended up catching big 40 common out of Colmere, which was a bit of a myth. You know, a lot of well-known people had had a look at that place over the years. And I went to Yateley, had single scale in the winter. This is all in the space of 12 months. So
so you were catching a lot of big fish, some well-known, some mythical monsters in the shape of that common.
I just couldn't do wrong, and people take notice. I think it was Crowley was the first person. Sort of, he come and he wanted to do a piece for. It was Total Carp, was one of those mags, the beginner mags, and that was it. You know, magazines kept coming.
It's just led from there.
Yeah, got introduced to Gary Bays after one of the features. Dave Levy did an interview for Big Carp, and he introduced me to Gary Bays, and it was like it's kind of a dream come true. I'd always been
everything fell into place for you.
Yeah, it all slotted in. Went down, met Gary, and he couldn't do enough for you. And to have somebody of that knowledge on the end of a phone, you know, you got any questions, want to tweak something or change it. Yeah. Nothing was too much trouble, and I've been with Nash 10 years this January.
It just kind of reassures you that someone who knows what they're talking about. I mean, you're confident yourself anyway, but when someone who you respect and who you know is an extremely knowledgeable person in that field, and they say, you're going along the right lines, it helps with confidence, which we all know is a massive factor in carp fishing. So, I mean, we've covered there very briefly, obviously, where Jamie started from. Although he does an awful lot of fishing, takes it very seriously and travels long distances at times to fish, he's not a full-time angler. He's got a job. Some of you may know, some of you may not know. I'll let Jamie tell you what he does.
Well, I've always been in the music industry, sort of DJing, suits fishing really, working weekends and fishing midweek. But to be honest, in the last 5 years I haven't done 20-30 nights a year. You know, a lot of people fish more than me. But the knowledge I've learned over 25 years carping is kind of, you can pick the good times a bit easier and cut out the blank. So I catch the same as what I always have done. You know, sort of big fish fishing, but just fishing far less, being a bit more selective. But we've just actually took on Lider Bar for 2 years, which killed my fishing time completely. Done hardly any fishing the last sort of 2 seasons. And then we've just took on a mammoth task of putting a fishing show on in the northwest.
The Northern Angling Show next March?
Yes, March 23rd, 24th. Bit of a bigger project than we imagined, but it's going to be a really good show.
Taking up a lot of your time?
Yeah, we've had a few days off to come here and be with you guys. It's nice to get out, it's kind of work as well. Yeah. But we're off down to the Kent show on Saturday to do a bit of PR for us. It's non-stop now for the next 5 months, so how much fishing I'll get in, I don't know.
Alright, thank you very much for your time. Right, good morning. This is 29.4 that I've just had. I've had 7 fish through the night, 3 bream, all small ones up until this point. Now what I've done, I changed tactics. First light, I was using small 6mm baits with little toppers, gone to 15mm snowmen. I'm not using bags anymore, and this is the result within about half an hour of casting in, so hopefully we might have a few more bigger ones. We'll get this slip back and we'll run through the tactics I have been using for the smaller ones to get the bites, and then go over what I've just done in order to catch this one, and let's see if we have some more. Hiya, right, I'm a little bit jaded this morning because we've been up all night catching fish, which is exactly what we want. What I'm going to do now is just run through the tactics that I've employed since I got here. We're into November, it's cold, it's the water I don't know. I turned up, obviously like anyone, you just want a bite to start with. What I've been using, pretty standard there if you can see it. 2 6mm Richworth boilies on the bottom, topped off with a little bright topper, which I've whittled down. Nicked on a little bag there, which I'll run through the bag mix in a minute, but it's a standard braid rig with the liner. I'm using the Tasker tungsten base range liner liners, which I've just started buying. I've been very impressed with them, to be honest with you. So that's that. The bag mix, pretty straightforward again, nothing major. Putting some pellets in there, some tutti frutti, nice and fruity for the winter time. Just a sprinkling of them. The main source of the bag mix is pellet. I want to put some food out there without putting a load of food out there, if that makes sense, just a scent trail. So bang some powder in there, quite a bit is what I've been using. That's the halibut powder, and again, because I want something fruity in there, I'm using the tutti frutti as well. Loads of that in. Right, so we've got a nice base there of powder with a few pellet in. The next thing to go in is a mixture of the 6mm boilies. Just adds colour. They're a lovely little thing to put in any spod mix, bag mix, whatever it may be, as opposed to full boilies. It's just something a little bit different that not everybody uses. Got three flavours there: white chocolate, strawberry cream, and this is pineapple Hawaiian. Topped off with a little bit of aqua stim, give it that extra kick. A little drop of that. Get your hands in, mix it all up. And if you can see that, nice light mix, plenty of colour in there, loads of attraction without too much food. Exactly what we were looking for. So that's that bag, and like I say, that's done the job. I've had 7 fish, 3 bream, and you know, it was going alright. But like I say, I've been up all night, not had any sleep, and I wanted to try and change something to try and induce a take off a bigger fish. So what we've done this morning, first light I was up, again, exactly the same rig, You can see that, but I've swapped it for two 15mm baits. Snowman rig, we've got an MV bait on the bottom there, again with a bright topper. I've put that out to the spot within half an hour, putting that out. Single bait I should add. I dropped the bags as well because I felt the bags, okay, they were bringing the fish in, but I did feel that they were bringing in the smaller fish. Within half an hour of that going out, it's rattled off, and I've had a 29.4 that you've just seen. Could be coincidence, I don't know, but I've switched all 3 rods to that. Single hook baits, no bags, just wanging them out on the spots that I've found, and it seems to be doing the job at the moment. Various bright baits, but let's have it right. Any bright bait on its day will do the job. Different colours, I've got different colours on all 3, but like I say, this is the one that I've just caught the 29.4 on, so hopefully we'll get this back out now, get some bacon butties on because I am starving, and we'll see if we can have some more. We've got Joe Jaggar here, who joined us last night for a quick night. Joe dropped in over on the other side behind Leon. Leon had fish showing in front of him. Joe obviously thought it was worth a crack. Let's ask him what happened.
Yeah, I got here at first light yesterday. I had to wait a little bit for the late 20s. There was a few lads moving off, Leon being one of them. I did fancy where he was because there was still fish showing in front of him even though he hadn't caught anything. I don't know the lake, so I had no prior knowledge of anything, so that just seemed the best bet for a short session. When I got here, I really wanted to put some bait out. I brought some maggots and I put them out there in about 11-12 foot of water, and I got a couple of rigs on top of it, really tight, and the fish continued showing all day, so I just thought, this is it, we're going to have them. And it was getting dark and there was just nothing happening, no line bites or anything, so that to me meant that the fish were in the upper layers. So I tied a zig up at 10 foot with one of the Nash zig bugs, that was an imitation louse, on the zig flow mono. That was out there for about 2 hours before it ripped off, and I had a lovely little double, about 10 or 12 pound, little linear mirror. I unhooked that in the net because with zig fishing I like to get the rod straight back out there. I got it back out there within minutes, did the photos with the fish with Andy, and then it ripped off again about half an hour later, and I had a lovely mirror again, 20 pound 8 ounce I think it went. And I just thought, right, that's it, we've got them all night here, and it just slowed down after that. I've altered the depths of the zigs to try and keep the action coming, but it hasn't happened.
What time did you have that 20, Joe?
About 6 o'clock, it was well into dark, and I mean on a little black zig bug you wouldn't have thought it could happen, but...
It's interesting though, because me and Joe are actually fishing opposite each other. We're fishing pretty close, aren't we,
to
be
be fair?
fair?
At about 110 yards and Lewis is fishing about 80, so we're probably about 10 yards off each other.
I've been fishing on the bottom. Obviously Joe was on zigs, as he said, and I'd not had anything prior to you catching, and then it quietened off for Joe. I'm fishing on the bottom and I've been having fish all night, so it just shows that at different times of the day, even in the dark, they can still be up in the water and then they can drop down depending.
It's just having that in your armoury to be able to change, switch over and keep the bites coming.
It's knowing when to do it, isn't it?
Yeah,
which comes with experience.
And having the bottle too.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not many people who put a zig out in the dark in November, but it's worked, and if I hadn't done it I could have blanked.
One question that I would like to ask Joe, I mean, me myself, I've not done that much zig fishing and I've never used these zig bugs. However, when I'm fishing on the bottom, I'm always checking my hook point, I'm always checking the rig, make sure there's no problems with it. Now obviously you've just said you've had that fish, you want to get it straight back out there because obviously there's chance of another. Are you as critical changing your hook point on, with zig fishing as you are on the bottom?
I do always check them because I do think that it's more important because you've got very little resistance there. You've got a 10 foot link, so it's got to tighten up quite a bit before it feel the prick. So I do feel that the hook has to be even sharper when you're zig fishing, but with these little Fang X hooks they stay sharp forever in my opinion.
That's it, a smaller hook does tend to stay sharper than a larger hook.
Yeah. And I mean, you haven't got the chance of scraping it on a bit of gravel when you're fishing up in the water, like you would on the bottom.
Okay, excellent, thank you for that insight, Joe.
Alright Kieran, I just seen that you had a fish then, what did you have?
Yeah, I just managed to bag one, about £17.
Oh, well, it looked a nice fish from over there.
Yeah.
Blank servo, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a nice nice.
What did you do? Did you stick with what you were doing, or did you change?
No, I changed my tactics. I come off the solid bags and went for some longer hook lengths and just about 50 baits over the top, a little quickly balanced boilie over the top.
Is that what you're doing now? Are you topping it back up?
Yeah, just topping the bait back up. Got the rest of the day, so hopefully I can go out another one.
Oh well, this time yet. The lake isn't fishing particularly well, and we seem to be catching a few fish. So fingers crossed for some more and some bigger ones. Hopefully,
mate. Hopefully.
Right, here we are with another little one. The most interesting thing I can say up to now is that it is excreting maggot all over me mat. I've put no maggot in. I've got Lee Collings opposite spodding maggot out as we speak. I was spodding as this took off. The spod was in mid-air as it ripped off straight over the spot. 13th fish that I've had. Obviously I've had a 29 that you've already seen. Cracking little fish, absolutely stunning like all of them we've had. Yeah, let's hopefully there's going to be a few more bigger ones to come. Right, as you know, we're down on Hardwick at Linear. Been here a few days. It's now Saturday. Lee turned up late last night, Friday. Been working all week.
Yes, I had, yeah.
Turned up in the dark.
Yes, I did.
Do you want to talk us through how that went?
Well, obviously, working all week, you know what I mean? I couldn't get away early enough, so it was sort of 6 o'clock by the time I got here. Pitch black.
Probably the same for a lot of people at this time of year, turning up on lakes.
So, but if you want to go fishing, you know what I mean, you've got to put the effort in.
You've got to be in it to win it, haven't you?
Yeah. So I had a quick walk round before I decided, just to see where people were fishing, stuff like that. Come and saw you on the sort of spit. Had a quick walk round. Saw there was a couple of other anglers on, so sort of knew roughly, you know what I mean. Sort of found out prior to my visit, obviously, where the fish were coming from, if you know what I mean.
It's helpful that on this occasion you weren't misled by anglers, because anglers do that, and we actually told you the truth where the fish were showing.
Yes,
which helps.
Yeah, that's it. So literally, I went round to an area I thought the fish were going to be in, you know what I mean, where a few people had seen them showing, sort of. And because I was fishing blind last night, I just fished chods out in the middle, if you know what I mean. So just because I knew I could be 100% guaranteed I was fishing, you know what I mean, even though there was quite a bit of weed out there. So just fishing white pop-ups, you know what I mean, just over the top. No bait whatsoever. But at least I knew I was effectively fishing, as opposed to just waiting until the morning to put my rods out.
I mean, I think it's interesting to say that Lee has dropped into the swim which Joe Jaggar was in, had a couple of fish, but Joe followed Leon Bartropp into that swim. So on these busy day ticket waters, you turn up, you might turn up and someone might have only vacated the swim half an hour before you. You don't know.
No.
So it's been interesting to see, obviously, a swim. It's had constant pressure for the last 4 days. It'll be interesting to see what happens during tonight, because obviously you've put a little bit of bait in. Do you want to tell everyone what you've done today?
I had to play about with the marker. I sort of left it till sort of 10 o'clock, because I think the worst mistake that a lot of people can make is, like, first light to sort of mid-morning is a feeding period on most lakes. So I see the mistake that everybody makes is, like, they're sort of reeling the rods in and recasting at first light. Which
I'll have to be honest and say, which is exactly what I was doing, but I'd had fish through the night, I'd been wiped out by the swans, so obviously I did want to get my rods back in, but I was conscious of the fact, obviously I did leave it an hour or two, because I'm opposite Lee on the point, so I left it a bit because I knew obviously you had your rods in, waited for you to get your marker rod out and start spodding, which we could do because we know each other, but obviously on a lot of occasions the guy opposite you don't know, he doesn't know you, and he wants to go about whatever he's doing.
That's it. So I had to play about with the marker, trying to find not clearer areas but clearer, you know what I mean. So there wasn't crystal clean, having a feel about, because like it's like an egg box out in Hardwick.
It certainly is.
It's sort of up and down. It's sort of 20 foot in certain areas, then it comes up to sort of 10 foot, 8 foot on certain bars. So it was just trying to find the sort of areas in the lake, because I haven't fished this water for probably about 8 years.
So what have you actually gone for? I mean, obviously we've got a varying depth. Jamie Clossick's had fish out of 28 foot. I've had them from 20, 10 foot on top of the bar.
Well, I've sort of gone for sort of 10.5 foot. And it was the clearest area that I could actually find. There's still weed on top of the bar, but it's not massive, probably about the size of a sort of a bivvy. I've managed to get 3 rods on it, pretty tight, with solid bags, and then just fishing little white pop-ups over the top of a bed of like chopped up cell boilies, maggots, hemp, pellets, sweet corn, just everything to try and just induce bites, if you know what I mean, because there's a lot of fish in here, and if them shoals and them smaller sort of stockies come in, they'll just wipe you out. So
has the weather played a part in where you fished in the water on top of the bar? Because obviously yesterday, I think it was raining, it was low pressure, it looked absolutely spot on. Obviously, as you can see, we've got high pressure, clear skies, you know, the sun's out now. Are you thinking this sun might have brought them up in the water?
Well, what I tend to do is, like low pressure, I tend to try and fish quite low, if you know what I mean, the bottoms of bars and stuff like that, whereas high pressure I try and fish on top of the features. Similar to like zig rigs and stuff like that. High pressure, you tend to put zig rigs out because the fish seem to come up in the water during like sunny sort of days and that really. So I've sort of positioned them sort of 10 foot, like 10 and a half foot on top of this sort of plateau bar sort of area, hoping that, obviously I know that the fish, I've seen a couple of fish show behind me in sort of 20 foot of water, so I'm hoping they come up on top of that feature and sort of make a mistake, but sort of that's the theory anyway. Whether it comes into practice is a different matter.
I think it's worth mentioning at this point that earlier on, obviously we've just touched upon when you were spodding and marking and I was. Lee was spodding out, I was spodding out bait at the time, and I had a take. Whilst I was spodding, the spod was in mid-air, it ripped off. Bit of a nightmare actually, because I had the spod out there with the line floating on the water, the fish kiting. But obviously I've managed to land that fish. Now I'm not using maggots, I'm using small 6mm boilies and a little bit of hemp. Lee was spodding out, were you just spodding out just maggot?
No, maggots, hemp, corn, 2 sizes of pellets, and then chopped up cell boilies, whole boilies as well. So just a bit of a mixture, you know what I mean. So
well, if it helps you, when I landed that fish, it was putting leftover maggots all over my unhooking mat, so hopefully they've been on your spot and they'll return.
That's it. They've obviously had a little snack and then disappeared over the back.
Come over to my spot.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? So, but because I'd made all the commotion to start with, I put the spot out straight away. Then I'll leave the rods now. I'll leave them in until I get a take, or until I leave tomorrow afternoon. So I'll just leave them in situ unless anything happens, so there's no more disturbance, and that's done and dusted then.
I think one point which some people might say, well, you've paid your money to fish on a day ticket water and you want your rods in at all time, but we've just been sat in your swim now, and I'm opposite Lee. Obviously, like I've just said, I've spotted some bait out. I've left my swim quiet, partly because I've had to come round and see Lee and have this chat and what have you, but whilst we've been sat in your swim, with no lines in my swim, we've seen how many fish over my spot.
4 or 5 fish, showing decent fish.
So hopefully, with no lines in the water, they will have come in a little bit of confidence. What I'm getting at is sometimes it's worth putting your bait in and leaving the area for 2-3 hours, resting the swim.
Rest the swim, you know what I mean. There's times when you'll have fish showing over and you can't buy a bite. You'll reel your rods in, leave it half an hour, redo your rods, chuck back out, same spot, and it'll go instantly. So the fish have come in, feeding confidently, and you've managed to nail one pretty quick.
Have you? I mean, I think we've had 18 fish now between us. We've had, some cracking looking fish, and we've had a few nice 20s as well. We obviously know there's a mixed bag of fish in here. You've got your stockies, and obviously
your
original fish. Have you set your stall out just to catch anything, or have you tweaked it to try and hopefully induce a take off a bigger fish?
Well, usually sort of fishing like 3 rods on the spot, I would fish like bits baits and stuff like that, but knowing there's obviously bream in here, and obviously a lot of smaller sort of stockies and stuff like that, I've actually gone for bigger baits. So as opposed to fishing like maggots on the hair and stuff like that, I've just gone for a white pop-up over the top, which is something, like it's stand out, but it won't always nail the smaller fish, hopefully, you know what I mean. It's to try and select the slightly bigger fish. And
definitely something I found, obviously the first night, it was you just want to bite, don't you? So I was fishing little 6mm baits, 2 of them topped off with a 10mm bright pop-up, so effectively it's a kind of snowman rig, I suppose. I was fishing that with small bags. I had quite a few fish, but they were all the smaller ones. So the next morning I'm thinking, what can I do to try and have you know, something a little better. And I just put out 2 15s on a snowman, no bag. You know, it was a single up bait really, but obviously it was a double bait. And within half an hour of that going in, I've had that 29. So, and following on from that, I've continued with the same tactics, and all the fish I've caught have been a better stamp. I've had the odd smaller one, but most of them have been upper doubles and 20s.
Well, because of the weather sort of turned a little bit today, it's gone milder, gone high pressure, it looks perfect for it. So I've put, even though, you know, when we're coming into winter, I've actually put more bait out than most people would. I've probably put 5, 6, 7 kilo of spod mix out, which most people wouldn't dream of doing in this sort of conditions, but there is a good chance of a hit on the cards. But you never know. It's one of them. I've put all my eggs in one basket. It might work, it might not. But
well, I think obviously with what you said you've put in, you've said you've put 6 or 7 kilo in, but you've not put 6 or 7 kilo in a 15-20 mil boilies. You've put bits. like you said, bits. So there's loads of attraction there, and not that much food to fill them up.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? Yeah, just hopefully, and if there is a few fish in the area, it'll obviously keep them there a bit longer. Yeah. As opposed to just picking boilies up and then moving off. There's quite a lot for them to. There's going to be all the bait in the weed. Yeah. So they're going to be obviously ripping that up as well.
Excellent. Well, hopefully we'll be here in the morning and we'll have Lee smiling with a big fish in front of the camera. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Thank you very much.
All right. Cheers. Thank you.
Right, here we are on the final morning. As you can see, it's a gorgeous morning. Had another fish through the night, a small one. Just as we were having the first cup of tea, the middle rod's just ripped off. Doesn't feel particularly big. The only problem we've had here really is because the water in front of us is so deep, you've got 3 lines going out. The fish are hugging bottom or trying to. And I've had it a number of times where they've taken out the other 2 rods. So as soon as I've had a take, I've just been taking the rod straight off the rest and getting tips on the bottom and dipping them. It's worked most times, but I have had a few nightmares. More so yesterday when I had a take when the spod was in mid-air and I was trying to play the fish with the spod out on top of the water with all the line floating. Somehow I managed to get it in underneath it, but not easy. Here we are on the final morning. We're just having the first brew. Middle rod absolutely ripped off. Another nice upper double. We've had quite a few of these between us now. Probably somewhere in the region of 25 fish, and cracking 20s to just under £30. It's been really good fishing here on Hardwick, to be honest with you. At this time of year, you know, it's a tricky time of year. You don't know whether you're full into winter, whether it's still autumn, whether they're going to be having it, what methods to go with. It's been good to see everyone using different tactics and what's worked and what's not, and how the fish have responded to the pressure as well. I mean, I've had a few, but I think the fact that I've not had my rods in during the day and I've rested to swim has been a massive advantage, because I've been off around the lake filming and speaking to people. I think it's made a real difference. So anyway, we've still got a few hours left, so we'll slip this fish back and see if we can catch a bigger one before we go. Right, here we are, right at the death. Lee's managed to sneak one. It's just rattled off as he's been packing up his kit. We've had a cracking few fish down here on Hardwick for the last few days, so a massive thank you to Linear, to Len, Roy and Chris especially. Lee, do you want to talk us through this one? What happened there?
Well, it was good conditions yesterday. I put quite a bit of bait in because the temperature had rose, but the forecasters got it wrong and it went down to -3 last night, which wasn't forecast. So obviously the temperatures rose today, and I've had this one off the sort of top of the bar.
It's a cracking fish as well, isn't it?
Yes, so it's sort of saved the blank.
Excellent stuff. Andy lost one last night, unfortunately. Came off quite close to the net, but that's fishing, I suppose, isn't it? Yeah. That's the way it goes. So massive thank you to all the Phat Fish consultants that have made the effort to come down, and yeah, that's great. Thanks a lot. Thanks for watching. Hope you've enjoyed it.